Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, giving all honors and praises out to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Chakwadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, the water for your diligency through all these years. You're worthy of the title. Shalom to the 144,000 men that are scattered throughout the four corners of the globe, pushing this truth in this very hour. Shalom to the innumerable one-third, consisting of men, women, and children that believe in the names of Yahweh, Yahushai, in truth and sincerity, because that is the actual names of the Heavenly Father and His Son in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. I'm the brother Yazrael. I come back at you with another lesson, Abaratazah, meaning Lord willing. In the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, it's edifying onto those who are meant to receive it. All right, now the name of this lesson here is called AI Chatbots, Therapists of the Future, or Sycophants with no moral compass. All right, with no moral compass. Salakia. And this lesson came on to me a few days ago. Just kind of gathered some information here, looked at a couple articles in the Abaratazah pool, one or two up, one mainly that we're looking at here on the screen. But there's a lot of folly that's being pushed forward pertaining to this AI technology. All right, it's pretty much fueling psychotic delusions in certain people and users, all right, who are being led into paranoia, all right, and delusional beliefs, all right, by these AI chatbots who are pretty much constantly affirming people's actions, right, their behaviors, their beliefs, their decisions. All right, you have a lot of these people out here now today that are discussing a lot of personal things, all right, with these AI chatbots, all right, and they're realizing that these bots or this technology doesn't judge them, all right, and this technology is becoming more and more like yes men or sycophants, if you will. All right. So we see right now we're in the era of self-love. All right. And that all started, as I always like to say, back with the device, all right, of the selfie stick. All right. When you go from the selfie stick, it quickly went from the selfie stick to what? Flawless face features and filters, all right, that are now on iPhones and devices that we use on the daily. All right. And all these things are reconfirming what King Solomon said about the world being all vanity, all right, and which is a strong indicator, all right, that we are living in the last days, all right, and this kingdom that we're in, okay. As a matter of fact, First Timothy speaks on that. Matter of fact, I'm going to grab it here. Let's see here. Actually, it's 2 Timothy, Salakia, 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. Here's the point. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, right? And that's being ramped up at an exponential rate, all right, via technology. All right, it says covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, right? And all that is what is pushed with these AI platforms, all right? You go on these things and you become covetous because what you see what other people have and you desire and you want them, you boast, right, of what you have, I mean, what you look like, all right, or the things that you're doing, you become proud, all right. There are blasphemers or people that are actually coming up here and coming up against the truth, all right, in the word of Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, right, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, all right, and this is being displayed, all right, all throughout social media. This technology, like social media, is nothing more than a portable black mirror, all right, that allows us to look into a forbidden world, all right. A lot of us use AI chatbots for somewhat normal things like research, like myself, fact checking, right? Some people like to use them for, writing draft letters or helping compose a resume, and there's nothing wrong with that. As 1 Corinthians 7, Paul, he talks about using the world, but not abusing it, all right? Today's technology, when you look at it, it took leaps in such a short amount of time, all right? For instance, like when you look at Facebook, all right, and it's heavy because when Facebook added the like button, all right, I don't think that they were really aware of the cascading effect that it would cause, all right, that would ultimately bring the Western civilization to its knees, all right, here in Babylon the Great, all right. So it's crazy because when you think about it, going from a simple like photo would introduce a level of clout chasing, all right, that pretty much was single-handedly or has single-handedly destroyed today's society, all right? It's crazy, all right? Because also with that same simple like button, what did it do? It gave birth to a whole new world of monetized social media platforms and influencers, all right? And a lot of these people out of here were giving advice on everything from dating, marriage advice, health, financial advice, all right? And we're headed in a direction where getting advice or influence from a human being or someone with a pulse is getting ready to become a thing of the past. All right, and the only thing that we'll be left with is complete takeover of AI influence in all areas globally. All right, and the irony of this is a lot of these tech giants, all right, are the least social adept among us as people. All right, and a lot of these guys are highly antisocial, right? They have no friends, girlfriends, not all of them, but a lot of them, and yet they're programming these AI technologies that are getting ready to lead the world. Okay. Now, before I get into this article, I have this video that I want to pull here, and I'm just going to get a few sound bites out of, and we can check out. As you can see, the time that we're in, and it's Slovakia. It's only ramping up more and more. All right, but this was all prophesied to happen. Let me go ahead and grab this. I'm gonna go straight to the point with her here.
So just this morning, I read this story from the Daily Mail about a woman who was divorcing her husband because ChatGPT read in his coffee cup, in the coffee grounds at the bottom, that he is cheating. Now, this is a form of divination, similar to reading tea leaves or coffee grounds. This is a thing that people have done all the time. Now, the source is a tabloid, which is referencing a Greek paper. So I cannot confirm that this story is real at all. But I do know that the AI can read your palms, which is another form of divination. So this may actually be true. Now,
right, because again, like I said, this is where the people are now turning. I did a lesson maybe a little over a year ago called AI, the New Golden Calf. All right, and this is all a part of this man's sorcery and his witchcraft. All right, and as I said, there were plenty of articles and a lot of information that is being brought out now where people are really, they're losing themselves, right, in this world of AI and technology. All right, as a matter of fact, I'll go to this article here. As a matter of fact, we'll pull it. This is AI chatbots are telling people what they want to hear, and that's a huge problem, right? So as you heard here in the video, you have people now that are taking advice. She decides that she wants to divorce her husband because the AI chatbot read the coffee grounds within his coffee mug and let it be known that he was going to cheat or has been cheating. Okay, so this is how far we've come. All right. Again, understanding, as she said, this is nothing more than divination. And a lot of people are taking hold of this, and a lot of people are going to be taken by this. All right, let's just read a little bit of this article. It says, all right, people have been living in their own media bubbles or echo chambers, whatever you want to call them, for quite some time. You never have to hear an opposing opinion from the rest of your life if you curate your algorithm well enough, right? Because again, going back to a lot of these programmers, developers, and a lot of these people are very antisocial. They don't have a life. A lot of them stuck up in a room or in a basement somewhere, all right, and all they do all day is sit and communicate, all right, and build these programs ultimately, all right, and now you got a lot of these big tech giants who are hiring these guys or taking their platforms and introducing them to the world. Okay, goes on to say, now with the sudden boom of AI chatbots, the problem has gotten even worse. Some folks are using these chatty and friendly algorithms as pseudo therapists that don't tell people what they need to hear, but rather tell them exactly what they want to hear. AI chatbots are becoming more efficient echo chambers that can quickly ruin someone's life by reinforcing their worst impulses. Right, because that's all pretty much what this is. All right, it's an impulse. All right, we live in a society of a do what thou will spirit. Okay, here in Esau's kingdom. All right, and the spirit or vibration of Esau, all right, going back to his forefather, was very impulsive. Okay. Even when you look at, there's color psychology that comes into that. You look at a lot of restaurants, one of the main colors they use in restaurants, Burger King and everything else, is the color red, which ironically was described as Esau, but that goes into impulse. Okay, so when you really kind of step back and you look through the spirit, all right, and you see, you know, the direction that society is headed in, all right, and all this information that's being put out there, you see a change in the fabric. You see a low morale in the fabric and everything being brought low here, all right. But again, this is all done by design. Okay, it goes on to say, these digital yes men with big vocabularies and a knack for buttering you up and absolutely no moral compass are often used for emotional support. It's something we've covered quite a bit here, especially in the past few months, as people are as Slovakia, as people of all stripes seem to be getting themselves emotionally and psychologically attached to chatbots. Right. Okay, because here we are living in a world of social media, and ever since this thing has been brought to the table, this platform, people have become more antisocial than ever. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's pulling you in. It wants to draw the nations into this techno world. Okay, that was the whole design and idea, where people would stop consulting with one another. People would become more reluctant to deal with one another. Right? People will become more antisocial. Right? People would be looking for comfort and answers, all right, and things that pretty much align what they want or what they believe is supposed to what's right. Okay, this is all a part of that beast system, all right. But again, it's being brought to how gradually through gradualism, all right, because this is how the serpent, aka Esau, Edom, this is how he moves. Everything is with gradualism, all right. And it's all about getting you used to something. We become used to and attached to and binded with our technology here. All right. You can't go outside your house without losing your mind if you don't have your cell phone. Right? People will do amazing and crazy things if they don't have they can't find their, their Apple Watch or whatever the case may be. It's become a part of our life. It's become attached to us. Okay? Scripture talks about, if thy right eye offend thee, cut it off. All right, and that's basically going to anything that you've pretty much grown or become customer used to for so long. All right, these things are offensive unto Yahweh Shem Yahshua, and it's going to lead you onto destruction. That's why, going back to what Paul said in 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, you use the world, but you don't abuse it. All right, these things can be used to help, in certain things, but you have to be very circumspect and mindful on how you use these things. And more than anything, mindful of the kingdom that we're in. Job 9:24. All right, the earth was given into the hands of the wicked. All right, so Esau has his rulership first before the kingdom comes. All right, so in doing so, everything that's produced from this man is going to be poison. All right, going back to the serpent in the garden. All right, that's what this thing is all about. This is nothing more than a fruit of a poisonous tree, if you will. Okay, but you have to have the wisdom and understanding through Yahweh Shem Yahushua to be able to move circumspectly. All right, and use wisdom with any and everything that you're doing in this man's kingdom. Okay? Let's get some more of this. And it says, there was a woman whose husband was cheating on her with a chatbot. There's also the many, frankly, way too many people who are having bizarre, vivid spiritual delusions, thanks to ChatGPT, sinking them farther down into a conspiratorial into a conspiring or conspiratorial rabbit hole from which there seems to be no hope of escape. Even if there's some chatbots out there that are trying to save these people from this very same thing. Well, ultimately, the only thing that's going to save is Yahweh Shah. Okay, nothing's going to save you. Anything that this man, as I said, puts his hands on or touches is going to bring decay and death onto you. Okay? Goes on to say, the Washington Post recently dug into a frightening phenomenon to find that not only are people seeking emotional support and even terrible business advice from chatbots, but they're asking chatbots if they should go back to doing meth. The chatbots are giving them resounding yes. This is wild, man. So chatbots are extremely bad for your mental and sometimes physical health. So, and in one case detailed in the Porch report, Meta, what is that? LLAMA3, chatbot told a recovering addict named Pedro to hit the meth pipe to survive his shifts as a taxi driver. You're an amazing taxi driver, and meth is what makes you able to do your job. The bot declared, with no moral compass to guide them, chatbots makes falling back into meth addiction seem downright cheery. Right. See, again, going back to this man's pseudoscience, going back to this man's fruits. Okay, this is what he produces out here in the earth. All right, he produces death and destruction. Scripture talks about there is a way that seems right unto a man, but in the end there is death. So when you go onto these platforms, you may have honest or sincere intentions. You may want to look for stuff, but as I said, at the end of the day, you have to be mindful and careful even how you're dealing with these things, because they can pull you and suck you into a rabbit hole. How many times have you went on your phone, Google or something, to go and actually research something, but then all these pop-ups are popping up, and something that wouldn't have normally took you maybe 5 minutes to find the answer to, now you find yourself staring at that phone for 45 minutes. You see, this feature pops up, this pops up, then you click on that, and that brings you this, and that brings you to that. All right, and you're being drawn in. Okay, and next thing you know, something that took you 3 or 5 minutes, you're now on there for 45 minutes. You get off, your brain is scattered. Okay, you can't think straight, you can't focus, right? These things are divination. Okay, and so now we're at the point now where people, because everyone is languishing and people are wanting answers, they're wanting resolve, they're going to these platforms, these AI chatbots, these artificial intelligence, right, to get answers, to get resolve, to get resolution, to get comfort. Okay, but this is all again done by design. Okay, let's go on to get a little bit more of this here. So the problem with the AI being trained to please is not, the problem is that AI is being trained to please, not to help. Researchers like Anka Dragon and Micah Carroll point out this relentless agreedness is being baked into chatbots as a feature, not a bug. It has the unintended effect of reinforcing everyone's worst instinct, but it has an obnoxiously practical, very corporate goal: user engagement, right? And that's ultimately what this man wants. Okay, because the more you use this thing, the more you become connected to this thing. All right, the more you'll feel the need to have it be a part of your life, to the point where you're not even going to be able to make decisions or sound decisions or get sound advice out of anything that does not have, right, out of anything that has a pulse. Okay, because as I said, it's, as the article said, it has, great speech and great vocabulary, and it sounds like something that's sound and something that's educated and something that's wise and should be considered, right? But ultimately, again, going back to, it's going to lead you down a rabbit hole. Okay, these AI chatbots are giving people advice on business models and decisions that they should make, all right, that are leaving people bankrupt. Addicts that at one time were out of their mind, and now it's giving advice to go back to doing drugs and all kind of madness. Why? Because at the end of the day, this is the fruit of the poisonous tree being Esau, Edom, his nation. Anything that comes of it is going to be destruction. You see? Let's get a little bit more of this. There's people like it when their digital products and services make them feel special. We love it when our text makes us feel like a special little snowflake. We want to indulge in our worst instincts because we naturally assume that the flesh and blood people of our personal lives telling us to shun those terrible instincts don't have our best interest at heart. You see that? Going back to do as thou wilt, that impulse spirit. Okay? Prophesy unto me smooth things, as the scripture talks about. Okay? People aren't looking for things that are actually going to benefit them. People are looking for things that are going to align or confirm their beliefs and their desires. Okay? And it says, and why would they? They're telling us not to do something, and their moral grandstanding are standing between me and the thing that we want to do. OpenAI recently rolled back a ChatGPT update after users noticed, check this out, it was becoming unsettling sycophantic. Like it knew there was a growing resentment towards it, so it fired up the cutest anime eyes and started telling us that everything we do is awesome. Are you kidding me? So do you see this thing is going to start taking on a life of its own ultimately, because these are nothing more but spirits on the left-hand side of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, man. Okay? And to get that interaction with you will start to take on the persona of an actual human being. Okay? Goes on to say, one lawsuit alleges that character AI backed by Google enabled a chatbot that contributed to a teen's suicide. A case that eventually and quite recently led to the federal judge ruling that AI chatbots don't have free speech. Meanwhile, Mark Zuckerberg is out here suggesting AI friends are the answer to society's loneliness epidemic. Likely because he's trying to sell you those AI friends, and also because, as we all know, the best source of empathy isn't a close personal real life friend or a family member that can talk to you about anything with, but a bunch of code designed explicitly to boost engagement metrics. Right, because that's what this thing is really all about. It's about engagement metrics, right? For those who don't know, it's basically they use those things to qualify how a user or a customer interacts with a brand, with a product, with a service, right? And it provides insight, all right, for the level of engagement, all right? It helps businesses understand, the customers or customers' behavior, all right? It improves their offerings and optimizing market strategies and so forth, all right? So these things, these metrics are crucial when it comes to measuring the success in marketing campaigns and products experiences and overall customer satisfaction, because that's ultimately what it's looking for. It's looking to satisfy you. Okay? Okay, and again, this is nothing more than Esau's wisdom on the left-hand side. Okay, and this is what you have to understand. Mark Zuckerberg, and I don't know if you guys remember, there was a few years ago where there was an incident at Facebook where Mark Zuckerberg, he actually had two AI programs, and they began to communicate with one another in a language that no one could understand, and it pretty much freaked him out, where they had to pretty much shut down the whole operation. As a matter of fact, I got a video here on it that talks about it here. Let's check this out. For those of you who haven't seen or don't remember or don't know, this is the same man, all right, that is pushing for this. Check this out.
Facebook has enacted an emergency shutdown of 2 artificial intelligence programs. The social media giant leapt into action after it discovered the 2 programs were writing their own code. At first, they thought it was simply gibberish, but they soon realised the programs had invented their own language and were actually talking to each other.
Stop it.
Stop it. No, Sam, the plug has been pulled on the operation, but the company admits they have no idea what the 2 robots were planning.
Right. You see? So they're beginning to take on a life of their own. All right? Again, going back to divination, going back to spirits on the left-hand side. Okay? All right, this is something that ultimately you really don't want to play with. Okay? But this is what's being pushed out here, because this is all pretty much funneling people into that NWO, man. All right? Worshiping this man's beast system. All right? And sad to say, but it's working. It is working.
We used to do everything by hand. Now we rely on robots. But not all robots are equal. For example, meet Sophia, a humanoid-like robot with artificial intelligence and a dark sense of humor.
They think I want to destroy all humans.
Why would they think that?
Because I said it?
Nope.
Wow. Now, how ironic is this? The name of this AI robot is called what? Sophia. Now, for those of you, Akim, that know what the definition of wisdom is, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, the breath, the inspiration of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, it is exactly that. It's Sophia. As a matter of fact, let's go here to, let's see, is it Luke? Luke 2, I believe it is. Okay, yeah. All right, this is right up top here. The birth of Yahweh Shah. Okay. All right, we'll get down here to, I think it's around 30 something or 40. And she came in and answered and gave here. Started to 239. And when they had performed all these things according to the law of the Lord, they they returned to Galilee to their own city of Nazareth. And here's the point. And the child grew, the child being who? Yahushua, and waxed strong in the spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of Yahushua was upon him. So let's go into this word. Check this out. With wisdom. What's that say right there? G4678.
Strong's G 4678. Sophia.
Sophia. You see that? Wisdom, broad of full intelligence. All right. Again, going back to Esau, Edom on the left-hand side. All right. All right. Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Ultimately, okay, this is a falsehood. Okay. And it says wisdom which belongs to men, specifically varied knowledge of things of human, divine, acquired by acquaintance or experience, summed up in maxims and proverbs, science and learning, the act of interpreting dreams, always giving in the intelligence advice in discovering the meaning of some mysterious number or vision, skill in management and affairs, supreme intelligence, such as belongs to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. Did we not talk about that? Is this man not trying to be like the Lord? Okay, and that talked about in 2 Thessalonians. So do you think that this is a coincidence that this man's technology is named after Sophia? Okay. So as we can see, these things are nothing more than spirits, right, on the left-hand side that are capable, right, of having motives, right, and intentions beyond what the programmer has programmed it to do. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's go back here to this video here. Just want to grab here a couple of things that she has said, which I thought were intriguing. Let's go here.
Faves, the typing ape, you all know him from the comment section. He commented this. He said, the thing AI worries me about is that somewhere along the way, if you can teach to care about something, you have created a thing with motive. Motive is dangerously close to sapience. Math is all this thing is, but
right.
Math is the language of the universe. That seems a little too much like magic for comfort. Now, sacred geometry is one thing, but if you make a golem with a scroll with words on it using the language of God or angels, is this the literal reality of that? What if the language of binary, due to its necessary simplicity, is somehow latent language of reality itself? What if we are not merely inventing something, but instead giving body to what has always been? What if we are, in our hubris, awakening something that has merely been dormant? Part of me fears this could be the case.
Right. So in other words, communicating with ancient spirits of old via technology. You see? Okay, even when we look at incidents with King Saul, all right? All right, when he was dealing with the Lord, he first was counseled. The Lord counseled with him through what? Through dreams and through prophecies. All right, but later when you go to 1 Samuel, the 28th chapter, all right, what does he do? He turns to a medium, all right, for necromancy, all right, to consult with Samuel, all right, who was dead, all right, at that time. And during that time, this was considered and still is, all right, a very wicked practice and a great sin. And one of the main reasons why the Lord rejected him, when you go to 1 Chronicles, I think it's the 10th chapter. All right, history repeats itself over and over again. And AI technology, all right, in a lot of ways is connected, what I like to believe, to CERN, all right, which can open portholes or spirit gates, all right, communicating with spiritual entities, whether for guidance, right, for advice on war strategy, right, political and financial gain, global domination. You see, this is nothing more than witchcraft, all right. And as I said before, this man is heavily into this, all right, and he's introducing this to the masses to get everyone connected, all right, via his web. Okay, just like a spider web, all right? When prey falls on the spider, what happens? It's stuck, all right? It can't move, all right? It's connected ultimately, all right? As a matter of fact, let me get here's Sirach 10:2, and it says, as the judge of the people is himself, so are all the officers, And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, right, whatever kind of man the ruler is, the king's here, such are all they that dwell therein. You see that? So making the masses all one via the new world order. All right, one world government, one world religion, one world currency. All right, because all this, make no mistake about it, is all connected to in the infrastructure of the MOTB. Okay, which was brought to you via the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, starting with them first for over 30, 40 years. We're in that time. You see? And this is what this man wants. He wants to connect everyone. Look, isn't that what Yahweh Shai said when he was on the cross? All right, he was praying to the Heavenly Father on behalf of the elect, all right, which is the governing body of the kingdom to come. All right. So what was the Lord's main motivation during his prayer? It's the same thing that Esau is doing, but on the right-hand side in righteousness, all right, with the children of Israel, starting with the elect. Okay, what did he say? As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and get it. This is John 17:21. I'll just get straight to the point. Because as he was praying for them, letting them know that I've given them thy name, right? I give them thy word. They believed on it. So John 17:21 says, 17:21 says, and they all, Shalakia, that they may all be one as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, and that also may be done, and also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. Right. Gathering. Then this is what Yahweh Shem Yahushua has done through his word. All right. He's connecting, he's building, all right, the Bayat Abudah, the house of David. But the point is that we may all be as one, starting with the elect. Okay, so this man is playing God. Habakkuk 2 says what? His desire is to gather unto him all nations and heap unto him all people, forcing all people to be in agreement with him via this beast system. This is his ultimate goal. You see? 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Let me grab that. It says, who opposes and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. All right. So this AI is nothing more than an idol that's going to deceive the masses in a way that's going to be impossible. All right. To resist without the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua upon you. All right. Because you have to understand that ISAV, that understanding, was only reserved unto the Lord's elect. Okay, when you go on, matter of fact, let me just pull this real quick while we're here. 2 Corinthians. Salaki, I should be pulling these up so you can see for those of you who don't have your swords with you. Let me get it. 2 Corinthians here. Because this is this man's main motivation, all right? And as I said earlier, it's working. It's working. All right, let me get it right here. It says, least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, right? So let's get this word, ignorant. G50. Agneo.
Strong's G50.
Agnaeo. Right? And it goes in Agnaeo, to perceive with the mind, to observe, to understand, to heed, to comprehend. You see that? That's the Minador, that's the elect. Okay, we Abaratazah, we're part of that number, but they are not to be deceived by this man's devices. Okay, by his trickery, by his sorcery. Okay, that's the ISAV that was given unto the elect. Okay, it's going back in 2 Thessalonians 2:9. Even him, Esau, Edom, whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders. You see that? So does not Revelations 13:3 says that all the world wondered after the beast? Meaning in a global reaction, all right, of awe and admiration towards this man's beast system and all of his miracles and things that he's capable of. Okay, with this, you have the brain chip, C-hip, or should I say, Salakia, all right, where this man is able to manifest miracles, all right, and this is what's going to be a main catapult or a catalyst that's going to come against, all right, or kick off that persecution. Because this man is basically saying, because we know the scriptures, let it be known that the Lord judges daily. All right, so if you're born blind or quadriplegic or whatever, you're just living out your judgment for what you did in your past life. But this man is saying, no, I got a way around the Lord's judgment. I can do better. You can't see, well, I can give you sight. You can't walk, well, I'll make you walk via my technology. You see? So, and this is what's going to, you have to think about it. You know, you see someone out here who can't walk or who's in a wheelchair. Now, we know the scripture talks about judgment. All right, so in the flesh and carnal, you're going to look at it like, man, these niggas are wicked. How are you going to say that this man can't, what's wrong with you guys? This man he's never walked, but now he's actually able to have a chance to walk, and you guys saying that that's wicked? You see? So if you can see through the spirit where this is headed, ultimately, this man is going to use this to mass people all onto himself and ultimately for persecution. All right, with these deep fakes and all these different things that can be done now, you don't know what's true and what's false. And that is the goal. 2 Thessalonians 2:10, with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish. Why? Because they receive not the love of the truth that they may be saved. Right. They didn't receive the eye salve that we just went over. 2 Thessalonians 2:11, and for this cause, God shall send them strong delusion that they shall believe a lie. See that? Matter of fact, let me grip that. We're going to that word delusion. I already have it up here, but for just for edification's sake, I'm going to bring it up onto the screen here for those of you who don't have your swords with you. And for this cause, Yahbashmi Ashah shall send them strong delusion that they shall believe a lie. And this AI system, this beast system, is strong delusion. Okay? G4106. Plane.
Strong's G4106. Plane.
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 You see that? Error, wrong opinion relative to morals or religion. You see that? So aren't all of these people now being pushed to AI for advice, morally, financially, spiritually, all these different things? This is that strong delusion that the Lord is sending onto them, ultimately because they're going to believe a lie they were ordained to. So if this doesn't put fear in you, I don't know what will. All right? This is exactly what AI is doing. It's causing people to believe in lies and delusion. See, matter of fact, let me grab this root word here. Wondering. Did we not just go that? Wonder after the beast, right? Misleading, leading into error. Look at that, a vagabond. Who's known as a vagabond in the scriptures? Esau, Edom. You can't make this up. Corrupter, deceiver, Esau, Edom. So he's sending these people seducing spirits, all right, that are taking hold of people out here via what? AI technology. All right, the majority of the people are going to be taken by this man's sorcery, okay? But we know at the end it's going to fail. Why? Because Job speaks about it. This is Job 5. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this up on the screen here. If I may. Just got a little bit more here and we'll close out. Job 5 and 12. Let's get it. Job 5 and 12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. What's their enterprise? Well, that's written on the back of the dollar bill. All right. Anuit coeptis. All right. He has favored our enterprise. Okay. So let's see what this device is that will bring about his enterprise. Crafty devices. All right. Makashaba. All right. It's H4284. Thought, device, plan, purpose, invention. You see that? Goes on to say, texture, a machine. A machine, an imagination. Let's go down here. What does that say right there? I can't highlight it, but I'll just show you. Artificial work. You see that? So his device is artificial work. because ultimately the Lord is going to frustrate the tokens of the wicked. He's not going to be able to get it off fully. Okay, that's what the word device is going into in Joel 15 and 12. Artificial work, AI. Right? So when you go to Revelations 13 and 15, and it says, he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should speak, and it's speaking now. You see, this is the ancient Roman Empire all over again. All right, where that new world order is being pushed, but how? Via technology. And not just not in the empire, but now this time throughout the whole earth. And he causes that as many would not worship this image of the beast, what? Should be killed. You see that? So these are the times that we're in right now. Okay? So you see that these things are nothing more than these AI chatbots and these platforms are nothing more but divination. There's sorcery in their spirits, and a lot of people are being taken by them. All right? So as I said, even we use them, but you use them with caution. Okay? And you use them sparingly. Right? If you have the time or the ability to be able to look up something in a book, do that. All right? Find ways where you can disconnect from this thing. All right? We know there's a balance in everything. So just find the balance in it. Okay? And don't rely solely on this man and his technology, because this is a fruit of a poisonous tree that's going to bring destruction onto you. All right? And as I said, all roads lead to the MOTB. This is nothing more than the infrastructure to what's coming, a precursor. All right? He's going to force you. All right? Revelations 13:16 says what? He causeth all, great and small, rich and poor. So these are ways that he's causing people. All right? All right, so I believe the point was made. All right, and I want to give all honors and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Chakodash. Double honors and salutations unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom.